Yo, what's going on, everybody? So, today I wanted to hop on here and talk about timelines. It's something that's been on my mind a lot lately because I'm in a period of liminality, a state of in betweenness. You know, when you're transitioning from one life phase to another? Well, that's me. I'm right there, I'm on the verge. Soon, me and my girlfriend will be buying a house and pushing forward into early adulthood, family, all that type of shit. And I know some people would say I'm behind, I should have already been there at my age, and that's exactly why I'm making this video, because I've spent way too much time stressing and comparing myself to others and focusing on the wrong thing. I remember one time I was hanging out with a bunch of friends and we were at a cottage, and this was before I had my career, I was just fresh out of school and I was job hunting and I was completely broke. Broke to the point where I was getting NSF'd, card was getting declined at McDonald's type shit, right? And one friend was talking to the other about e-transferring them $20, and we were drinking and shit like that at this kid's family's cottage, and the guy was like, oh shit, and he like made a mistake and put a bunch of extra zeros because he was drunk, right? He's like, I almost just transferred you 20 grand. And I remember thinking in my head, being like, I wasn't laughing or like amused by the situation, because the only thing going through my mind was like, you have 20 grand? And I couldn't believe that, right? Because I was sitting there with like nothing. Like I had nothing, and I was like, "Oh fuck. My friends have like decent amount of money they've been saving, you know what I mean?" And then I just spent a long time hyper focused on that, stressing instead of just being at that cottage and understanding that people are at different times in their lives, right? That guy had been working, he hadn't been to school. Of course he has more money than me, but instead of looking at it that way, I was just like, I'm behind. I'm super behind. Another one would be when some of my friends started to get married and I would be in the wedding parties, or even if I was just at the wedding. At the time in my life, I was single when a majority of these weddings happened, and I was just kind of like having fun, casually meeting girls, hookups, dating, that type of shit. And I switched my gears entirely because I was like, man, all these guys are getting married. They're going to have two incomes. They're going to be able to get like a house and shit like that. And I'm just fucking around out here. I'm behind again. And I just switched fully into looking for a serious relationship. That's when I remember in my mind it flipped, and I was like, I can't be out here fucking around anymore. And I made that decision purely out of looking at other people and deciding if they're doing it, I have to be doing it, or I'm going to fall way too far behind. When people were coming back from school and getting careers, and I was still in the phase of my life where I didn't know what I wanted to do, I had gone to different schools and tried many programs and dropped out like a handful of times. I was paying out of my ass. I mean, I paid for so much school just because I could not figure out what was a good fit and what I wanted to do. And honestly, I think it's because I was comparing myself to all these people constantly. You have no idea how stressed I was seeing these people like land full-time careers and start getting somewhere in their life, being adults, and I was still like no degree under my belt. People would make comments sometimes, and it stressed me out. So I think that's why I was just at random trying all these different programs instead of like not focusing on that and doing what works for me. I was like, if they're doing it, I got to do it. And then I would go enroll in some program that was never going to be a good fit, and I kind of knew it in the back of my mind, but I just figured I got to get something under my belt. So that's another point. Like, I just completely screwed myself by constantly focusing on what other people are doing and why I'm not doing that. Nowadays, I've been doing the exact same thing for the last handful of years. I've been seeing friends and family friends buy houses, and I've been thinking, man, what am I doing? Why don't I own my own land, my own house? I'm falling behind. These people are adults with property. Like, they've fully transitioned out of their youth. They're not relying on anybody anymore, and they've purchased a home. You know what I mean? And in my mind, I'm just like, that should be me. Why am I not there? And now that I'm on the verge of finally almost getting there, I realized, why did I spend the last like 4 years so stressed about this? It wasn't like I haven't been doing anything, but I just, for some reason, put all this pressure on myself and would look at these people and get envious and jealous of them. I never let this show, I didn't let it affect relationships or anything like that, but I definitely let it affect my mental health and be overly concerned. I could go on forever telling you about key moments in my life where I got, caught up overthinking and comparing myself to people, but it even happens in like the minute moments in my life, or I'm at work and I'm comparing myself to my colleagues and I'm like, well, how do these people always understand things or like know things more than better than me, you know what I mean? And I'm comparing myself to everybody I work with. It doesn't end. I have a hobby of taking photos. I like film photography, and I have an Instagram where I like post some of that shit. Well, I often find myself not posting some of the photos I really like because I'll look at other accounts and think, "Nah, they wouldn't post this. This is shit compared to what they do, so I shouldn't." You know what I mean? But it's like, again, why? That's a hobby of mine that I enjoy, and I'm literally hindering myself, fucking myself over, stressing about something that is so unimportant and so dumb just because I'm comparing myself to other people. It's backwards. It's dumb. Now, I think this type of thinking is human nature and it's natural. It's going to happen to everyone, but in moderation, it's fine. You know, there is some benefit to it. It might propel you, that type of shit, right? And it is good. It has pushed me to achieve some things in my life that otherwise maybe I wouldn't have. But it can be overdone. Just like everything else in life, you can take this too far, and that's what I find myself doing. And this will lead to having like a poor self image, maybe anger issues, depression, anxiety, just bad things, right? Because you spend so much time focusing on other people, you're not focusing on yourself, and then you'll just lose confidence and have a bad self image. It's all negative. It's just a circle. It's a revolving issue. It's a revolving door, I should say. You know what I mean? So if you just spend more time thinking about you, doing hobbies you enjoy, understanding that maybe these friends have houses and you don't yet, or this guy got a new car, or this person's getting married or having kids and you're single, it doesn't matter. You're on your own timeline, and if you focus on theirs, you're going to hinder the progression of your own. You're never going to get farther in life, and you're just going to keep falling further and further behind, worrying about not being at the same pace as them, right? So, I'm just frustrated about this. I've been thinking about it a lot recently because, like I said, I'm on the verge of like moving into that next phase of my life. But I spent so many of the past years just like anxious and nervous and frustrated with this that I didn't get to always enjoy my time. And I hope you guys don't repeat that same behavior. And if you are finding yourself in that negative cycle, just get out of it, you know? Focus on yourself, not other people. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. Peace.